Hey guys, hopefully you're having a great day. And you know, I said I wouldn't do another mock draft until about a quarter way through the NFL season, but with Andrew Luck's retirement, it dramatically changed how the draft may look. So I went ahead and I updated my draft rankings. I did that thanks to playoffpredictors.com, link in the description below, as well as I did this with my updated rankings. And segue, I got a new series called Scouting Report. I basically go over some of the potential 2020 NFL draft prospects, see how they did for the week. Does it help? Does it hurt their stock? It's a series I'm putting a lot of time and a lot of work in, so go ahead, show it some love. I'll have it in the end of the video. I'll have a link for it in the description below, and it'll be in the little eye symbol somewhere in the corner of this video. So please go and check that out. But with that being said, what's crack-a-lack, it's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So if you haven't already, go ahead, give me a thumbs up, helps me get discovered, and hopefully you're enjoying the content. If you are, you may want to become a bro, so go ahead and give me a subscribe. Let's go ahead, let's get in. And with the number 1 pick, the Washington Redskins select Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver out of Alabama. You know, this pick for me has been Chase Young for a while, but I think Jeudy is honestly my favorite prospect in this draft. There's no secret that the Redskins, they need help at the playmaker position, so they go ahead and they take a wide receiver prospect who I deem probably the best receiver prospect since Julio Jones or Calvin Johnson. He doesn't have the same size as those guys, but he is a great receiver. He is a very fluid route runner, and he would be a great addition to help out Dwayne Haskins in the future. And with the second pick, the Cincinnati Bengals select Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback out of Alabama. It's no secret, this pick is probably going to be a quarterback because currently the Bengals quarterback is Andy Dalton, and that's no bueno. I keep flipping and flopping between Justin Herbert or Tua at this pick. Honestly, 1A, 1B. You can't go wrong with either choice. Both are franchise-changing quarterbacks. And with the third pick, the Miami Dolphins select Chase Young, edge out of Ohio State. I was maybe a little biased at making the Dolphins go 6-10, so here I have 4-12. I don't want them to, they have to get 4 wins at least, right? But I have them not going quarterback, but taking the best prospect, the best player available, and that is Chase Young. And with probably the rest of this draft, they're going to try to build around Rosen. I think Rosen's going to at least get 2 years, especially if he doesn't even start this year. Maybe they'll have Fitzpatrick instead start. But I think they know Rosen's in a very bad situation right now. Currently this season, they can't get a really good evaluation of him, so he'll probably have a 2-year leash with that. And they did give up a second-round pick for Rosen, so I like to at least see them try. Plus, in the 2021 draft, Trevor Lawrence, man. And with the fourth pick, I have the Arizona Cardinals selecting AJ Epinesa, edge out of Iowa, and I have them taking an edge because they're kind of old at the edge position. Terrell Suggs is kind of on his farewell tour, and Chandler Jones is getting a little up there in age. The play hasn't declined, but he is getting up there in age. They would like to get probably an offensive lineman, but I don't think there's one really that should go in the top 10. I don't think there's a blue chip prospect currently right now at that position. So the Cardinals, honestly, maybe they could trade down for one of those quarterback needy teams. But right now, I have them taking the next best player on the board, and that's Epinesa. And with the fifth pick, the New York Giants select the Laviska Shenault Jr., wide receiver out of Colorado. Now, I have Jalen Reagor from TCU rated higher than Shenault Jr., but Jalen Reagor is very similar to what they have in Sterling Shepard and Golden Tate. So I think they take a receiver with a little more size at 6'2", 225. He's fast and he could break tackles. He's gonna offer a little bit in the screen game. The dude is a monster, and if healthy, should be a top 10 pick. And with the sixth pick, the Denver Broncos select Bryce Hall, cornerback out of Virginia. The secondary is in dire need of some revamping, especially if Chris Harris Jr. ends up leaving after this season. I think they're pretty okay at safety right now because they gave Kareem Jackson a 3-year deal. Justin Simmons is very solid, so they go with corner. Bryce Hall is phenomenal. He could have came out this past year, but he chose not to. And with the 7th pick, the Indianapolis Colts select Justin Herbert, quarterback out of Oregon. This pick is going to be quarterback, regardless of how they finish, unless Brissett shows that he is a franchise quarterback. I don't think he is. I think that I have this team at 6-10. I think that's their floor. I think they're in the 6 to 8 win range because that team is very good and they get a quarterback on a rookie deal. And they're going to be able to do a lot to elevate the talent around them financially. So I think this is a good bargain for the Colts. And with the 8th pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take Grant Delpit, safety out of LSU. It's no secret, the secondary really needs some help. I love Grant Delpit. I kind of comp him to Jamal Adams, who also came out of LSU. The Bucs could go quarterback since Jameis Winston, we don't know how he's going to look. But I think in this draft, the Bucs have enough draft capital to trade back in the first round because I think KJ Costello, who could be a late first round pick, is more of a Bruce Arians guy than Jake Fromm would be. So I see them potentially doing that. And I mean, Jameis Winston, maybe he looked good this season because let's be honest about Jameis Winston. His highs are really high. He looks amazing when he is playing at his best. But his lows are almost rock bottom. I mean, the turnovers, it's very costly, but I have them addressing the secondary right now. And with the 9th pick, the Carolina Panthers select Christian Fulton, cornerback out of LSU. I think there's an argument to be made that Fulton could be the top corner in this class. He's a very smooth athlete. I think he's a better prospect than Greedy Williams was in this past draft. And the secondary really needs to be addressed in Carolina. They did a lot with the front seven this past off season. So I think they go ahead. They would probably love Grant Delpit at this pick, but he's not available, so I have them taking a corner. And with the 10th pick, the Tennessee Titans take Jake Fromm, quarterback out of Georgia. Now, you might be like, well, Tampa didn't take a quarterback. Why does Tennessee? Because Mariota hasn't really shown hasn't shown much during his tenure over Tennessee. I think they're kind of fed up. They're not going to pay to keep Mariota around. Because Mariota, he has been... his play has been that of a backup quarterback. And like I said earlier about Jameis Winston, Mariota does not have that ceiling. He doesn't have the big play potential. He's not the prospect we thought that Tennessee was getting when he came out of Oregon. So they go ahead, they get a nice Curley, who I think is a good game manager. I comp him to Alex Smith right now. But Jake Fromm, he could have a bonkers 2019. And he could maybe get in that Tua to Herbert range. The 11th pick, the Detroit Lions selected Jalen Reagor, wide receiver out of Tennessee. I love Jalen Reagor. I think he's maybe a top 10 pick. He kind of slips out of the top 10 here, and Detroit's like, yo, that's value. Let's take it. They need help at receiver. Matthew Stafford wasn't the same after the Golden Tate trade. And here, like I said earlier, they get a player very similar to Golden Tate in Reagor. With the 12th pick, the Buffalo Bills select CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. The Bills, they don't have many holes to fill. They could do offensive line. Like I said, I'm not too high on the offensive line talent in this draft as far as the offensive tackle talent. They could go edge, but the edge class is really thin. I don't think there's one in this range. They could go corner. They really could go anywhere. I have them getting a receiver because John Brown isn't the answer. He's because of the contract they have, he's probably there for another 2 years. So they go ahead, they get his heir apparent because, I mean, let's realistically look at Zay Jones. He is a wide receiver 2 at best. They got a quality slot right now in Cole Beasley, so they get a number 1 in CeeDee Lamb. And with the 13th pick, the San Francisco 49ers take CJ Henderson, cornerback out of Florida. It's the biggest weak spot right now on that defense is secondary. Even Richard Sherman saw his play rapidly decline in that San Francisco secondary. I think it was more of a product of the talent around him, but they get a corner that can come in there and be a really good sidekick to Richard Sherman. I mean, Henderson is a shutdown corner, and he played phenomenal in that season opener against Miami. With the 14th pick, the Houston Texans select Tyler Badaz, center out of Wisconsin. You might be like, where are the tackles at? And realistically, the best offensive line talent in this draft the best prospect is Tyler Badaz. He's been the best center in college football for the last 2 years. And the Vikings selected Garrett Bradbury right there, like, think pick 17, and Badaz is a much better prospect than Bradbury. So they go ahead and they maybe replace Nick Martin, or they move him to guard, and they just keep trying to address that offensive line that so desperately needs help. And with the 15th pick, the Las Vegas Raiders select Javon Kinlaw, defensive interior out of South Carolina. The Raiders really don't have a lot of holes to fill on that team, so they go ahead and they take the best player available, and that would be Kinlaw. Kinlaw is a phenomenal talent. He's a little raw, but he can be a monster, and he would be a good sidekick, a good partner in crime with Maurice Hurst, and they just add some more potential pass rush on the interior. And with the 16th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle out of Georgia. And now we finally have offensive tackle coming off the board here. And the Steelers, they really probably do need to address secondary, but I think they get good value here, and they replace Matt Flair, who played very well last year, but they can upgrade the position, and Andrew Thomas could come in right away and play right tackle and be an eventual heir apparent at left tackle. And with the 17th pick, the Dallas Cowboys select Jeffrey Okudah, cornerback out of Ohio State. The Cowboys, they have a big decision to make. They have to pay Dak, Amari, Zeke, and Byron Jones. And I think the odd man out probably is Byron Jones. He really shouldn't be. He should probably be the first guy they pay, but I don't think it'll happen. I think he will end up being a free agent. So they go out and they replace him with a guy that could be one of the top corner prospects in this draft if he turns into a playmaker. He's already got all the physical tools, and he's a guy that I see rising real quick in this draft. With the 18th pick, the Baltimore Ravens select Isaiah Simmons, linebacker out of Clemson. They go ahead and they basically get someone to fill in for the now departed CJ Mosley. They don't have too many holes to fill. Again, another team with not too many holes to fill. That defense is already scary, so they get a potential chess piece, because Simmons, I say this in all my videos, he's got linebacker size with safety athleticism. They could really put him anywhere in that back seven. He is a very dangerous prospect, and he's a very dangerous player, and that's all Baltimore needs, right? Another dangerous player. The 19th pick, the Las Vegas Raiders selected Jared Pickney, tight end out of Vanderbilt. This is the Chicago Bears pick, and the Raiders go ahead. Like I said, they don't have too many holes to address, so they get another playmaker, because I don't think they will replace Derek Carr just yet. Antonio Brown wanted to play with Derek Carr, so I think the Raiders believe in Derek Carr, so they get another weapon, because they're very thin at tight end, and they don't really have a big playmaker. Pickney can be that. I currently have him and Okwe Benam as 1A, 1B, but I like the big play potential of Pickney. With the 20th pick, the Los Angeles Rams select Julian Okawara, edge out of Notre Dame. I would like if I were the Rams, I would like to probably get an interior offensive lineman. I don't think outside of Badaz, there's really one they'd probably take at this pick. So they go ahead, they address the defensive side of the ball, and they snag an edge rusher, because Dante Fowler, they have him on a franchise tag, paying $14 million for a guy who's really only showed up for one game and it ended up being the Super Bowl. But I don't think he will be on the team after this season, and they go ahead, they address pass rusher, because Okawara has a ton of potential, and he could see a definite rise in this draft if he just comes out and has a banger of a 2019. With the 21st pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars select T. Higgins, wide receiver out of Clemson. Here they are, your AFC South Division champs. Really, the AFC South now with Andrew Luck gone, it's wide open, and I just happen to have Nick Foles leading Jacksonville to the playoffs. And they just need to add more weapons around Foles. Depending on what happens with Jalen Ramsey, they could go corner here, but I think they added another weapon, because Marquise Lee, he's hasn't been healthy, so we really don't know what we got in him coming into this year. The only real receiver on that roster right now is D.D. Westbrook, who Foles has in the preseason, he has gone to him quite a bit. So that could be a scary combination going into the season. But they go ahead, they get T. Higgins, a guy with scary size and scary speed, and he would be a good complement to D.D. Westbrook. And with the 22nd pick, the New York Jets select Paulson Adebo, cornerback out of Stanford. I don't know how I have the Jets going 10-6. Really hurts. I guess I'm really high on the Jets, and like I said, it hurts because I'm a Dolphins fan. Really gets me right here. But everyone knows that the Jets desperately need secondary, so much that they traded for one just today. They gave away a six-round pick for a guy that's gonna probably just really be some bench fodder. So they go and get a true number one. I have Shaheem Carter for Alabama ranked higher than Adebo, but I think Shaheem's more of a safety / slot corner, while they really need someone that can play on the outside. So they go ahead and get Adebo, who is a very well-rounded corner. He's very, very vicious in run defense. Like I said, he's really good in man and zone. With the 23rd pick, the Seattle Seahawks select Tristan Wirfs, offensive tackle out of Iowa. Look again, man, the offensive tackles, they're coming off the board, kind of. And the Seahawks would love if some offensive tackle prospects fell to them. They kind of really addressed the defense and receiver this past draft, so I think they addressed the offensive line right now. And Wirfs, he could end up being the top tackle in this draft when it's all said and done, because he has a ridiculously high ceiling. He's a freak specimen. He is super strong, former wrestler, super athletic, and honestly just a little raw. If he could prove he is better in his pass protection this season, like I said, he could be a top 10 tackle. With the 24th pick, the Atlanta Falcons select Curtis Weaver, edge out of Boise State. And they re-signed Grady Jarrett, so now they go out and they get edge, because McKinley and Beasley have been just disappointments there on the edge. So they go get someone that can get some pressure. Weaver is a monster. They're playing on the blue field. He is an athletic freak. And you heard this about Christian Wilkins, who the Dolphins selected in the first round, that you're getting the player, what you see is what you get. There's not much of a ceiling. I feel the same is true for Weaver. That doesn't take away for the type of talent he currently has. I just think that he's kind of already reached that ceiling, but he's still, I think, a late first round pick. With the 25th pick, the Los Angeles Chargers select KJ Costello, quarterback out of Stanford. Now, I would like Tampa probably to trade up ahead of some of these teams to go ahead and get Costello, but I'm not doing trades in this mock draft because there's a slippery slope when you start trading. But Costello, I think, would be a good heir apparent to Phillip Rivers. The team with not too many holes, they could get a tackle here. They just go ahead and they grab a quarterback who a blue chip quarterback. He's not like Easton Stick, who they have on the roster. This guy definitely could fill in for Phillip Rivers when he retires in the next 2 to 3 seasons. With the 26th pick, the Cleveland Browns select Prince Tango Wenagoho, offensive tackle out of Auburn. If you follow the channel, you know I love Tango Wenagoho. I think he's got a lot of talent. He's got a huge upside. He has just been really recently just learning the game of football. He's easily the best offensive lineman on that Auburn team. I think he has a tremendous ceiling. He has tremendous potential. And looking at the Browns roster, they really need a tackle. They need some offensive line help after doing so much with their playmakers and so much on defense. They go ahead, they address the offensive tackle spot, because Greg Robinson shouldn't be a starter in the NFL. With the 27th pick, the Minnesota Vikings select Derek Brown, defensive interior out of Auburn. We got back-to-back Auburn players being selected. I really like Derek Brown as a prospect. People are really high on Derek Brown. I don't think he's a top 10 pick. I think this late to first round area is really where he should go value-wise. So the Vikings jump on that. Vikings probably could address corner too, but I mean, They still have Xavier Rhodes there, who had a pretty down season last year, and they don't have much depth behind them. They have really so-so talent behind them. But they go ahead and they just increase that scary defensive front, put in Brown next to Joseph. With the 28th pick, the Green Bay Packers select Tyler Johnson, wide receiver out of Minnesota. Like everyone knows, this wide receiver class is loaded, and the Packers don't really have many holes to fill on that team. So they go ahead and they just get another weapon who could be a good complement to Devontae Adams and MVS. With the 29th pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select Shaheem Carter, safety out of Alabama. The secondary on a very strong team. The secondary is easily the weakest part of this team. I think they could go ahead and they get a guy who could come in, play the slot, play the back safety, and this would be a very big upgrade for the Philadelphia Eagles. With the 30th pick, the Kansas City Chiefs select DeAndre Swift, running back out of Georgia. If you follow me at all, you know I'm not about running backs in the first round. I think it's the least valuable position on offense. I think you could easily in day 2, day 3 get guys that fit your system, and your team won't be worse for it. And I don't think that there's any first round talent running backs currently in this draft class. But I've really been like, for me, DeAndre Swift has been just picking up some steam. I love DeAndre Swift. I think he might have leapfrogged Travis Etienne as my top running back in this draft. The guy is patient. He's got tremendous burst. He can be a weapon in the pass game. And you get to upgrade from Damian Williams, who has been kind of a journeyman in this league. I don't think Darwin Thompson is a lead back. I think he's more of a complementary back in this offense. So you get Swift, and that's a scary tandem words going into the future. With the 31st pick, the New England Patriots select Walker Little, offensive tackle out of Stanford. New England could go whichever way they want. It's really a mystery who they may go at any of their picks, but I think they go offensive tackle. They lost Trent Brown in the offseason. We don't know what we're getting with Isaiah Wim and Marcus Cannon is a guy you could probably upgrade. Walker Little is kind of a plug-and-play player. I have him this low. A lot of other analysts are really high on him. I think he's very limited athletically, but that could change this year. But he's a very good player. I think he's a late first rounder to early second round talent. So the Patriots go ahead and they just keep protecting Tom Brady, who's probably going to play for another decade. With the 32nd pick, the New Orleans Saints, your Super Bowl champions, select Albert Okwuegbunam, tight end out of Missouri. Another team that could go a variety of different ways, but I think they go ahead and they get the tight end they've been missing since Jimmy Graham. I don't think Jared Cook is really going to be... I think he's going to be decent in that offense, but his breakout season was last season. He's been in the league for like 7 years, so whoop-de-doo. They go ahead, they get a guy who could be a threat in the red zone, which is big because they have, passing-wise, they have no threats in the red zone. I mean, Michael Thomas, he only had 6 red zone targets. So they get a guy who can be a real threat in the red zone and a threat in the passing game altogether. That's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube things. Much appreciated, much obliged. But until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.